Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Adwa Athari and I'm from Semantuju, Bekasi. And I'm here to tell you a story titled Sangkuriang. Sangkuriang is a folklore originated from West Java, and it is a story about a young man named Sangkuriang who wanted to marry his own mother. Now, this story explains the origins of Mount Manglayang, Tangkuban Perahu, and Mount Putri in the same time. So, thank you and listen. I hope you're happy to listen. Once upon a time, in a place called Svargaloka, there was a god and a goddess who had committed a terrible sin, and because of that sin, they both got expelled from Svargaloka and sentenced to be reincarnated on Earth as animals. The god turned into a dog named Tumang, while the goddess turned into a boar named Celeng Wayungyang. One day, there was this Sundanese king who was in the forest hunting. He felt the need to go urinate, so he went to some bushes and urinates there. And then he just left. But his pee somehow got collected on a dried coconut shell. The boar, Celeng Wayungyang, who happens to be nearby, went into the bushes and drank the pee just to satisfy her thirst. But unknown to her, the pee she drank actually contains a small amount of sperm, and because she was a goddess incarnate, she immediately becomes pregnant and gives birth to a child not long after that. The king, who was in the forest, heard the sound of a crying baby and found the baby near some bushes. So he decided to take the baby home with him into the palace and raise it as his own child. Years passed. The baby grows up to be a very beautiful girl named Dayang Sumbi. Now, Dayang Sumbi really liked weaving and making beautiful clothes. But one day, while she was weaving as usual, one of a roll of threads fell outside of the palace, and she was unable to get it back because she was a noble and are forbidden to leave the palace on foot. But she got desperate to get it back, and she made a vow. The vow is, whoever can find my skin of thread will be rewarded. If she was a girl, then I will treat her as close as my own sister, and if he was a boy, then I will marry him. Not long after that, a male dog came into the palace carrying a roll of threads belonging to Dayang Sumbi, and because she had already vowed, she fulfilled her promise by marrying the dog. Now this dog turns out to be Tumang, the god incarnate. When the king heard about this, he was not happy and kicked Dayang Sumbi out of his palace immediately and throws her into the forest. But the king's people, thankfully, felt sorry for her and built a simple hut in the forest for her to live in. After marrying to Tumang, Dayang Sumbi realized that he was not an ordinary dog, and once every full moon, Tumang can turn back into his original form, a god, a handsome god. She thought she was living in a dream for a while. Once a month, there was this beautiful and handsome man suddenly appears before her, and yeah. After that, Dayang Sumbi became pregnant, and she gave birth to a child named Sangkuriang. And because Sangkuriang was a demigod, he grows up to be a very powerful boy. One day, when he was 10 years old, his mother asked him to go hunt for her a deer's heart. And so he went hunting, accompanied by his friend, dog, Tumang. That day, Sangkuriang did not find any animals at all, so when he finally finds a lone boar in the middle of the forest, he went to hunt it, but he was stopped by Tumang, who realized that the boar was actually Sangkuriang's grandmother, Celeng Wayungyang, but he got angry and accidentally shot Tumang and killed him instead. So he went to go home, but he felt that he did not deserve to go home empty-handed, so instead he took out his knife and carved Tumang's heart out and bring it home with him. He then gave the heart to his mother, who then cooks it and serves it for both of them. Dayang Sumbi then asked Sangkuriang to call Tumang to give him his piece of cooked heart. Sangkuriang felt guilty and admitted that the heart that they had just eaten was actually Tumang's heart. Of course, Dayang Sumbi got angry because he just killed his husband, and he hit Sangkuriang in the head with a rice ladle, which left a wound right on his head, right on his forehead. So then Sangkuriang runs away from home after that. Decades pass. He loses a lot of his memories because of the wound he received on his head. So one day, he was looking around the forest when he suddenly finds a really beautiful woman in the middle of the forest, and immediately he falls in love with her. And the woman is actually Dayang Sumbi, his own mother, but he didn't remember it. And Dayang Sumbi did not recognize him at all because of how much he had changed. So They fell in love, right? And Sangkuriang wanted to marry her, and Dayang Sumbi agreed. One day before the supposed marriage, Dayang Sumbi saw a scar right on his head and realized that it was the exact same scar that she gave her son 12 years ago. So she realized that she was about to marry her own son, right? So she tried to stop it. First, she tried to tell him that she was actually his mother, but Sangkuriang didn't believe it because he didn't remember it. So she tries another way, which is telling him that if he wanted to marry her, she has two conditions. First, he had to build a lake by damming the Citarum River, and second, he needs to build a giant boat to serve as their future home. But the task needs to be completed in just one night before dawn. But Sangkuriang accepted these conditions and went to work. He uses every bit of his supernatural powers to work it as fast as possible, and he calls upon countless spirits and jinns to help him. When Dayang Sumbi realized that Sangkuriang was almost done, she tried a last resort attempt to stop him by hanging a white piece of cloth who she had weaved and prayed to the gods. The gods, in turn, made the cloth glows up and illuminates the once dark sky into as bright as dawn. Everything that has helped Sangkuriang fled away because they thought that it had already dawned and the deal was over. Sangkuriang, of course, got angry because she almost had it. She almost completed the task. He threw down the Citarum Dam that he had just built, and it is now called the Manglayang Mountain. And the giant boat that he had just built, he kicked it as hard as he can, flipping it over and making it land upside down. That boat are now called Tangkuban Perahu. So he got angry, and because he thought he was being cheated on, he went on to find Dayang Sumbi, but she had already fled. And Dayang Sumbi prayed to the gods to save her, and the gods saved her by turning her into a jaxi flower. And Sangkuriang, who never did find Dayang Sumbi, runs into the underworld, never to be seen again.